Beverley and Driffield. In recent days, here a number of river levels have broken records. There are even concerns that riverbanks and flood defences are so badly made.
A message to my great-grandparents. Thank you. You moved mountains for us. You changed the way you lived for us. You hoped, dreamed, and most importantly, you acted on it. Our region, our planet, wouldn't be here without you and what you did. You rallied together. You lifted each other's spirits. You conquered the biggest crisis the planet has ever seen. You did it.
We will see desertification, drought, crop failure, and mass movements of humanity on a scale not seen before. And our grandchildren will know that we are the culprits, and they will know that we knew, that we were warned, and they will know that it was this generation that came center stage to speak and act on behalf of them, on behalf of posterity.
So what's fascinating about the Humber is that on the one hand, it's driving immense innovation through companies, through organisations, through the university, through its citizens. But on the other hand,
it's the UK's biggest concentration today of business of industry that emits carbon dioxide.
We have a real sweet spot in the Humber in terms of our geography. Humber is in a bowl, and if you can imagine all the rain that falls on the world and falls on the Humber, that water needs to get out of the bowl. And to do that, we're reliant on pumps. But in the future, we need low carbon, natural solutions.
If we don't react, if society doesn't take the difficult decisions, it's a bit like, to use the old cliche of, boiling the frog. We won't know the moment it's become intolerable, but eventually society will become intolerable. At some point in the future, it will become very difficult for people to live the sorts of lives that they currently live and that they want their children to live and their grandchildren to live.
The significance around the world of what's happening here in the Humber, this place which has been part of our industrial heritage, a history based on coal, on steel, on chemicals, is also going to be a really important place for our future on clean energy technology, and an important place where those businesses and communities work together now, finding those pathways, solving the technical problems, creating new businesses as a coalition, solving it and making the full transition.
It's not a cliche to say that the eyes of the world are looking at the Humber. They genuinely are. I think this could have a real impact, not just in the region, but across the planet. If the Humber can get it right, it will offer a model to similar locations around the world as to how to do it properly. And so there's a lot of optimism about what can be done, and there's a lot of hope invested in what the Humber can achieve.
There's some incredibly passionate people working in industry, and Hull and the Humber has that in spades. I mean, more than anywhere else I've ever worked. You see this kind of commitment to making a difference here, to recognising the fact that, you know, the industry in the Hull and Humber area generates 5% of the UK's carbon dioxide emissions. And so changing that here will make a big difference to the carbon budget of the country. So Aura is a knowledge exchange facility, so it's designed as a building, a focus that brings academics and companies together. And the Flood Innovation Centre was an initiative that recognises that flooding is a threat, but also an opportunity. So the threat is obviously we need to develop a set of approaches and technologies and warning systems and drainage systems and all those sorts of things that basically mean that the impact of flooding in the future will be lower. But the opportunity, of course, is that these are technologies that can be developed within Hull and the Humber region that will have an impact locally, but then can become a market for, to sell the product into a national or a global system. So what we're trying to do is to work with companies around developing new technologies, new approaches. It might be new models, it might be things as simple as a replacement for the air brick in your house that allows appropriate ventilation but prevents flooding, and that can make a huge difference, when a flood strikes. So it really is about working with companies around those sometimes quite simple technologies that actually, when they're deployed, make a huge difference, and that you might be able to sell millions of around the world to the benefit of the wider society.
The Humber is the gateway for us to this fantastic resource of offshore wind in the North Sea. And what you've got is the need, you've got the established skills, you've got communities here, and you've got a position, you've got the physical geography, which is just right for getting started with a new industry. And that's what we've been doing. We've been breaking records here. We've been part of this supportive UK market, which has been the largest market for offshore wind, where offshore wind has grown the fastest. And a big part of that has been the Humber. It's been those areas of seabed just off the coast here, and it's about this estuary as a strong base. And if we look forward, it's also the platform for the next phase of growth. We've still got lots of promising seabed areas off the coast here.
Climate change and the decarbonisation agenda is about, to me, it's about two things. It's about places and it's about people. So anything that you are developing, you need to be thinking with that in mind, the green agenda, and thinking about that road to net zero and how we get there. And from an environmental point of view and a business point of view, we want to be doing the right thing and future-proofing whatever we're building. But also, if you're going to attract investment into the region, it needs to be future-proofed from a climate change point of view as well. I think the beauty of the Humber and what we do really well is we collaborate, and I think that is what's going to be important. Not one business, not one person can achieve what we need to achieve in isolation. We need to be thinking and working together to make this happen. You will not attract the investment without looking at climate change, because funders, investors want to invest and will only invest in projects that have got the green agenda nailed. They can see that roadmap to net zero.
One of the most exciting things about what we're trying to do in the Humber is that we're going to be developing some of the really first-of-a-kind technologies. So we're going to be building the world's first large-scale hydrogen production facility in the Humber. That will be a transformative moment, I think, in the history, not just of the Humber, but of the way in which energy systems are developed around the world. It's an extraordinary project, unparalleled really, anywhere in the world, and will have a huge impact, not just on the UK's climate change performance, but also it will create jobs, it will create opportunities for people who live across the Humber region.
We're the second biggest landowner in the Yorkshire region. We believe it's incumbent on us as an anchor institution in the region to take a lead on these issues.
We're working in the Humber as one of the 5 resilient cities across the globe to look at natural solutions. So whether that's green roofs, wet woodlands, permeable paving, rainwater harvesting, these are all small measures that build up to have a huge, thriving success in terms of managing surface water flood risk.
I feel incredibly proud of the university. I feel incredibly proud of the region and the initiatives that are being taken. I think it's such an exciting time. You know, it's quite easy to be downbeat about this transition and the challenges that we face. But I feel really upbeat about it because you know, in my own academic area, we talk about risk, but also opportunity. With risk comes opportunity, and this is an opportunity of global scale.
I think the important thing to understand is this is necessary to achieve zero carbon, but it's not sufficient in its own. I mean, we're not going to be able to do everything. This isn't going to achieve every aspect of our net zero transition. Other things need to happen as well. I mean, there needs to be a profound change in the way society thinks about the consumption of energy across the board. And we all have a part to play in it. Companies like Equinor, consumers, families, individuals, government, everyone needs to think about the way in which they are behaving when it comes to climate change. We can do our bit, but we aren't going to be the silver bullet that solves all the problems. There are other things that are going to be needed too.
Climate change is a generational challenge. It's probably the biggest thing that we will face in our lifetimes and probably the biggest thing that we've faced for several generations. If we want to beat it, it requires everyone working together. It's a global challenge. It requires governments to work together across the globe to set reasonable, sensible, but achievable targets, and most importantly, to make sure that we deliver on those targets. It requires companies to work together across the world and also domestically so that they share their knowledge, that we don't fight, that we don't compete and try and fight and move others out the market, but we work together to harness the incredible opportunities that are coming and harness the learning that we can get at very high speed. If we can do that, as Britain has done before, we can continue to be a world leader. And Hull and the Humber is showing the country how that can be done, and we can be the place that the world wants to come and learn from.
You know, the world has faced many challenges previously. A really obvious one was the ozone hole and CFCs. And the global community came together and we did fix that problem. You know, we did eliminate the dangerous CFCs. And in fact, it's a huge opportunity. You know, we are rebuilding the global economy, and the global economy will be much better for everyone if we go through this transition. But we do need to go through this transition. We mustn't duck the challenge.
As a country, as you know, the world, we've been slow to act, and I think we've woken up in the Humber. I'm confident that we can do it because everyone is pulling together. Everyone wants to do it. We see the opportunities, we see the eye on the Humber now. People are looking at what we're doing and how we're going to be trailblazing this.
In 100 years' time, people living in the Humber will look back at this period and say, thank heavens to that generation, to the generation of my great-great-grandparents. They took the difficult decisions then, and they are difficult decisions in some respects, but they were prepared to take those difficult decisions and make a decisive change. And as a result, I'm able to live a happy, prosperous, sustainable life 100 years later.
I hope they will look back at this phase and see that we were successful in tackling man-made emissions and their effect on climate change. And I hope also they will be looking back that we also managed to start tackling the problems of broader sustainability, of biodiversity, and that the way in which we tackle climate change is also done so that we can preserve this precious planet, this biodiversity, which we all depend on.
So I'm doing this for my children. I'm doing this because I want to leave the world in a better place. And I have the opportunity to use the Humber as that testbed, to be the showcase for the world. The eyes are on the Humber, and we can achieve this.